Councillor Fairclough, I understand you would like to speak.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's Fairclough. It's a good Irish name, in fact. Congratulations on your appointment from the Liberal Democratic Group, and congratulations to everybody else here on your election, or indeed your re-election. And I understand that around a third of us, for whom this is our first council meeting as councillors, and indeed pretty much our first ever vote. And by this vote, we make the one decision that's going to have the biggest impact on the lives of our constituents in the next 4 years. And I find that, I'm sure you do too, pretty sobering. I hope and I suspect that everyone here will find the next 4 years somewhat of a learning experience. Madam Mayor, on that note, we want to raise 3 points, 3 challenges which we think the borough faces in terms of its leadership. On my first day back in the day job, my colleagues gave me a rather sweet gift, a book on how to be a councillor, sadly written in 1990 by a Tory councillor, but there you go, in which they'd all written some nice messages, one of which simply said, do good things. Now I think probably that's relatively uncontroversial, surely we're all aiming for that. We probably all might mean different things by that. At least one of us wants to do business-like things, whatever that means. Some of us want to make Merton a little bit better. And there are those of us who have a little bit more ambition for the borough. But it's pretty difficult to work out what the administration to be would regard as good things. Now, in my day job, I'm pretty good at Googling. That's what I do, in fact, largely. But I couldn't find, try as I might, a Merton Labour Party manifesto. Not sure if you've got one over there. I found the Labour Party in Sutton. That was up there. They're very keen on sacking Veolia. And there was a bit in an election leaflet, depending on where you lived, that said Labour would save St Helier or St George's Hospital, depending on which one you lived closest to. And if you lived in Fixed March, they said that Labour would crush abandoned cars and lorries. Madam Mayor, I'm not sure I've ever seen an abandoned lorry, so I would like to congratulate the administration on squashing them super quickly. But squash lorries and safe lorries are not, squash lorries and cars and safe hospitals are not manifesto. So this is our first challenge to you. Tell us what your administration is about, its guiding principles. Let those be debated here. Let them become part of our collective aim for the borough. A borough charter, if you will. And now, I mentioned congratulations, Madam Mayor. The Councillor Draper very graciously congratulated me. I might not quote him quite right, because I've been up 28 hours, but he said something like, you'll find it's not so easy from the inside. Now, I'm sure that's right, but who of us here is on the inside? By the layout of the room, we're clearly not. Colleagues on this side of the chamber, with the exception perhaps, Madam Mayor, of the cosy consensus of the front benches, are also not. And I seriously wonder how many of our Labour colleagues are either. In recent years, we've seen cabinet changes following disagreements in group meetings, not terribly reassuring, and quoting Bagshots on dismissing checks and balances. But a bit of surfing the Merton website tells me that the 60 of us here have great professional experience. So our second challenge is, see the diversity of views as a way to help make decisions. It's not a trap. Building consensus, forging an outcome makes decisions stronger, especially when the going is tough. And our final challenge is a very simple one. It's for all of us to avoid complacency in our roles. Our new council inductions have been great. In the one on scrutiny, all the speakers, a chair, a deputy chair of scrutiny, and a cabinet member spoke in glowing terms of how effective the scrutiny process had been, holding Veolia to account. Now, collectively, we must have had thousands of conversations with people in the last few months. Is that a view our constituents share? Madam Mayor, in summary, I'd like to mangle and misquote the words of Michael Jackson. I'm starting with the man across the chamber, and I'm asking him to change his ways. No message can be any clearer. We all want to make the world a better place. So take a look at yourself and make that change. Thank you, Madam Mayor.